The time is precisely 1:15 p.m. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News edited by Ramesh Piris and read by Chandima Veerakon. Headlines. Today marks the 70th anniversary of the 2004 Boxing Day Tsunami. The Pakistan Senate passes unanimous resolution condemning Sialkot lynching. Sri Lanka taking strict action to combat human trafficking. The government to spend 85,000 million rupees next year targeting rural development. Sri Lanka records more than 150,000 tourist arrivals so far this year. The opposition leader launches Smart Revolution for Digital Age. 529 new COVID-19 patients identified on Saturday, increasing the total tally to 583,251 cases. In news overseas, South Africa's Archbishop Desmond Tutu dies at the age of 90. In sports news, it's cricket, Ashes, England, Australia, Melbourne, third test tourist make 4 changes. Local stories in detail. The Disaster Management Centre says that 2-minute silence was observed across the island at 9:25 a.m. today to commemorate all those who lost their lives in the 2004 tsunami. Today marks the 17th anniversary of the 2004 Boxing Day Tsunami, one of the world's deadliest and most destructive natural disasters struck over 10 countries in the Indian Ocean. In all, deaths from the disaster mounted over 230,000 in a matter of hours. Sri Lanka was one of the hardest hit countries with over 40,000 fatalities and property damage. December 26th was designated as National Safety Day every year by a cabinet memorandum of 2005 to commemorate the victims of the 2004 tsunami disaster. Accordingly, National Safety Day is celebrated annually on December 26th with the main theme of remembering the victims of the tsunami and other disasters. The national ceremony commenced at 9 a.m. this morning near the Peraliya Tsunami Memorial in Galle district with the participation of Tri-Forces personnel, the police and general public. The Pakistan Super House of Parliament has unanimously passed a resolution condemning the recent lynching of Sri Lankan national factory manager Priyantha Kumara in Sialkot by a mob accusing him of committing blasphemy. The chairman, Sadiq Sanjarani, said he would send a delegation of senators to Sri Lanka to personally hand over the copy of this resolution to the family of Kumara and express condolences with them. The resolution, which was moved by Leader of the House Shahzad Wasim, read that the House condemned such acts of extremism and demanded that the government should take action against those involved in the lynching. The Environment Minister Mahinda Amaraveera says the government will spend 85,000 million rupees next year targeting rural development. Minister Amaraveera noted that the government has instructed that all the money should be spent on livelihood development projects. He made these commitments while addressing a public meeting held at Angunakola Palace yesterday. Furthermore, he said the funds were allocated in the last budget. He added that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has launched a program to provide 100,000 jobs to uplift the economic status of unemployed and low-income families. He further mentioned the main objective as a government is to improve the livelihood development of the people. The Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga says Sri Lanka has registered more than 150,000 tourist arrivals so far this year, as the number peaked after over 47,000 people landed in the island nation in the first 20 days of December. According to official figures, Sri Lanka recorded a total of 47,120 tourists in the first 20 days of December, surpassing November's number. Minister Ranatunga said that in an effort to increase the month-on-month growth rate of tourist arrivals, promotions will be launched by the Tourism Ministry and the national carrier Sri Lankan Airlines in cities across the globe. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing with local stories, The opposition leader Sajith Premadasa has launched a pilot program to donate smart boards and computers to the school system in Sri Lanka with the aim of accelerating the transition to a digital economy through information technology. According to the opposition leader, nearly 75% of students entering government schools do not have computers at home. Internet access is limited to about 35% of the population, with only 1.67 million regular internet subscribers. According to the leader of the opposition, the growing digital divide in Sri Lanka has been further exposed even as the epidemic begins to spread. MP Premadasa further said, in such a situation, it will not be easy for the children of this country to deal with the modern world of technology in the future. The epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health reports 529 new COVID-19 cases were reported so far on Saturday. A total of 583,251 COVID-19 cases have been reported since the beginning of the pandemic. While 9,252 infected patients are currently under medical care at hospitals and homes, 559,128 patients have fully recovered and been discharged from hospitals. Sri Lanka on Saturday reported 19 deaths, raising the total number to 14,871. Meanwhile, according to the epidemiology unit report, so far, total of 15,980,825 people have received a first dose of COVID-19 vaccine and 13,827,474 have received the second dose. In addition, 3,299,035 have received the third booster dose. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka announced its decision to extend additional incentives for inward workers' remittances until the end of 31st January 2022, after considering the request made by Sri Lankans working abroad. The central bank said it has decided to continue the payment of additional 8 rupees per US dollar for worker remittances paid in addition to the incentive of 2 rupees per US dollar under incentive scheme on inward workers' remittances. Further, CBSL has also decided to bear the transaction cost incurred by Sri Lankans working abroad up to a defined limit when remitting their money to Sri Lanka through exchange houses and or banks. Accordingly, a large segment of Sri Lankans working abroad would now be able to remit their money to Sri Lanka without any charges. CBSL said the operating instructions in this regard, including the date of commencement, will be issued in due course. The Dengue Prevention Unit reported that 26 people have died of dengue in 2021 in Sri Lanka. During this year, almost 33,000 dengue patients were reported from all parts of the country. The Dengue Prevention Unit urged the people to seek immediate medical attention if they suffer from the dengue symptoms, noting that hospitals have the capacity to treat dengue patients. To end the local news, the headlines again. Today marks the 17th anniversary of the 2004 Boxing Day Tsunami. The Pakistan Senate passes unanimous resolution condemning Sialkot lynching. Sri Lanka taking strict action to combat human trafficking. The government to spend 85,000 million rupees next year targeting rural development. Sri Lanka records more than 150,000 tourist arrivals so far this year. The opposition leader launches Smart Revolution for Digital Age. 529 new COVID-19 patients identified on Saturday, increasing the total tally to 583,251 cases. That ends the local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
And on the main news story, the Ministry of Defence says that the government of Sri Lanka is taking strict and prompt action under the auspices of the ministry to combat human trafficking, and that the country's anti-human trafficking task force intends to initiate many more proactive steps to combat the menace in Sri Lanka in the coming year. Through a policy decision taken by the Cabinet of Ministers in July this year, the chairmanship of the Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force was shifted from the Ministry of Justice to the Ministry of Defence, with a view to establishing an enhanced institutional mechanism that directly coordinates with the investigation authorities and the intelligence services to combat human trafficking. That ends the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sidhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watch Light. At long last, Ayurveda hospitals are permitted to treat COVID-19 affected patients. Coronavirus patients are treated with normal Deshiya treatments such as kanda or porridge, boiled coriander water and inhaling steam vapor of various kinds, etc. Helavedakama or hereditary treatment coming down from generation to generation has been found extremely effective, particularly with the eruption of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite the patient presenting with symptoms, namely high fever, severe body pain and severe cough, along with many of the other associated symptoms of COVID-19, the progress of the disease could be arrested within a short period by being exclusively on Ayurvedic medicines. This illustrates that there is a wide scope to explore the variety of pertinent medicines present in Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia, which can be used more rationally to suit every stage of the disease. Moving on to world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
Christmas and New Year sales with CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable prizes and vouchers for CIB bills during the entire month of December. 20% discount will be given for bank cards and for gift vouchers. Visit CIB today as well.
The headlines. South Africa's Archbishop Desmond Tutu dies at the age of 90. Pope Francis warns that the world is becoming so desensitized to crisis and suffering. Queen Elizabeth pays tribute to Prince Philip in her Christmas broadcast. Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the Nobel Peace Prize laureate who helped end apartheid in South Africa, has died aged 90. His death was confirmed in a statement by President Cyril Ramaphosa. President Ramaphosa stated Archbishop Tutu's death marked another chapter of bereavement in our nation's farewell to a generation of outstanding South Africans who have bequeathed us a liberated South Africa. Pope Francis has warned that the world is becoming so desensitized to crisis and suffering that they are now happening while hardly being noticed. In his annual Christmas Day message, the pontiff pointed to ongoing turmoil in Syria, Yemen and Iraq, as well as in areas of Africa, Europe and Asia. He also said the effects of the pandemic threatened efforts to resolve conflicts on an international level. He spoke outdoors again this year after making his speech indoors last year. Britain's Queen Elizabeth paid tribute to the late Prince Philip during her first Christmas television broadcast since the death of her husband of 73 years. The 95-year-old monarch said that although Christmas was a time of great happiness and good cheer for many, it can be hard for those who have lost loved ones. The video message broadcast on Saturday opened with an excerpt of Queen's speech in 1997 for the golden wedding anniversary with the Duke of Edinburgh. To end the world news, the headlines again. South Africa's Archbishop Desmond Tutu dies at the age of 90. Pope Francis warns that the world is becoming so desensitized to crisis and suffering. Queen Elizabeth pays tribute to Prince Philip in her Christmas broadcast. That ends World News.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of
Christmas and New Year sales with CIB Janajaya Vasana has commenced. Valuable prizes and vouchers for CIB bills during the entire month of December. 20% discount will be given for bank cards and for gift vouchers. Visit CIB today as well.
Development News is brought to you by Let's take all out of the coconut tree and make the island thriving and prosperous. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
And on development news, the Environment Minister Mahinda Amaravira says the government will spend 85,000 million rupees next year targeting rural development. The government has instructed that all the money should be spent on livelihood development projects. The minister further added that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has launched a program to provide 100,000 jobs to uplift the economic status of unemployed and low-income families. Accordingly, appointments will be made to such recruits. Meanwhile, the minister said that the government has also decided to restrict the import of non-essential goods. That ends the development news.
Development news was brought to you by the coconut tree is well grown in almost all the parts of the island. It is an exceptional source of extra income. The shell, the husk and almost all the parts of the coconut tree makes you money, providing you with an excellent extra source of income. It will also help to nourish the economy of the country. You will be guided with all necessary informations regarding the coconut cultivation, with the novel cultivation techniques and all other related and upgraded informations by the Coconut Research Institute, Lunavilla. Call our hotline 1928. WhatsApp 070 400 1928.
Moving on with sports news.
On sports news, it's cricket. England were dismissed on their first innings for 185 runs on the third Ashes Test, which began in Melbourne. Captain Joe Root made 50 before being caught behind the stumps by Carey of Stark. Short while ago, Australia were 53 for no loss with David Warner and Marcus Harris at the crease with 38 and 12 runs respectively, trailing England's first innings by 132 runs. Meanwhile, Scott Boland's Boxing Day Test debut could pave the way for the next generation of Indigenous cricketers. He entered rare company at the MCG on Sunday when he was presented with his baggy green by injured star Josh Hazlewood. Boland is only the second Indigenous man to play Test cricket for Australia after decorated paceman Jason Gillespie. The 32-year-old was recognised as Australia's 463rd Test cricketer before play in a special welcome to country. That ends sports news.
For all foreign currencies remitted through NSB based on the US dollar value, 10 rupees more per dollar, plus more gifts until 31st December 2021. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Business news sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The contemporary traveller has a limitless choice of destinations and experiences, all competing for their time and money. The ability to communicate a destination's many aspects is vital when appealing to an international audience. Sri Lanka has so much more to offer than just about any other location in the region. Unfortunately, yet no one knows anything much about the island except for its beaches, which have been the sole focus of all previous marketing efforts. In a bid to rectify this glaring oversight, Sri Lanka Tourism has undertaken an extensive integrated communication campaign which showcases the island's many diverse facets to the world to capture the hearts, minds and imagination of the target audience. These international marketing efforts include advertising, international public relations, trade shows, special events, online marketing and sponsorship activities. That ends business news.
Business news sponsored by
Cash through NSB globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSB Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Economic news. courtesy of
I bought my daughter a laptop for her work by managing my finances. Whatever the expenses may be, I can't afford to miss out on life's special moments like her birthday or our anniversary. So you need to invest to make your family's future flourish.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibilities. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011.
Sri Lanka's exports in 2021 from rubber product sector has achieved $1 billion income, and the Sri Lanka Export Development Board intends to increase it to $3 billion by 2025. The EDB expects that the proposed dedicated industrial zone in Horana for rubber-based manufacturing firms would soon become a reality. Renowned tyre companies manufacture and export products under international brand names present in Sri Lanka. Last year, $250 million income was earned from rubber glove exports. There are more than 100 rubber and rubber-based export companies in Sri Lanka, and about 50,000 workers are employed in these firms. That ends economic news.
Saving money isn't easy when you have responsibility. That's why we promise to give you the best returns and guarantee on your investment. LOLC Finance Fixed Deposits. Maximize your savings. LOLC Finance PLC, incorporated on the 13th of December 2001, is rated SLA stable by ICRA Lanka Limited and is licensed by the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka under the Finance Business Act number 42 of 2011. The Weather Report.
And finally, we take a look at the weather report. The Department of Meteorology forecasts mainly fair weather to prevail over most parts of the island today. Slightly cold weather in the night and early morning is expected over most parts of the island. Misty conditions can be expected in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central, north central, southern and Uva provinces during the morning. And in sea areas, mainly fair weather will prevail over the sea areas around the island. That was the weather report. And to conclude this bulletin of news, the headlines again. Today marks the 17th anniversary of the 2004 Boxing Day Tsunami. The Pakistan Senate passes unanimous resolution condemning Sialkot lynching. Sri Lanka taking strict action to combat human trafficking. The government to spend 85,000 million rupees next year targeting rural development. Sri Lanka records more than 150,000 tourist arrivals so far this year. The opposition leader launches Smart Revolution for Digital Age. 529 new COVID-19 patients identified on Saturday, increasing the total tally to 583,251 cases. And in international news, South Africa's Archbishop Desmond Tutu dies at the age of 90. In sports, it's Ashes, cricket, England, Australia, Melbourne third test tourists make 4 changes. With that, we conclude this bulletin of news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.